Nama wanita ini Jane Lightman.
Hello, Akhlis. Nice to see you.
Jane Lightman dari Rusia. Beberapa hari yang lalu dia berkunjung ke Cinematheque, antusias menyaksikan beberapa film Indonesia, tentu yang ada subtitle bahasa Inggris, setidaknya bahasa Inggris. Jane Lightman ini di negaranya sana, Rusia, menurut penuturannya ke saya adalah aktris teater, juga main dalam film serta beberapa serial televisi di tempatnya.
My name is Emil.
Vasilisa.
Vasilisa the Beautiful.
To you, the horrible.
It's fine. We'll bring her up to my level.
Yang membuat saya tertarik untuk ngobrol dengannya adalah ketertarikannya kepada perfilman Indonesia. Dia melihat data, dia melihat arsip-arsip, dia melihat film Indonesia lama di sini, dan kita ngobrol-ngobrol. Sepertinya dia juga menjadi aktivis film atau kru film. Baiklah, saya akan ngobrol dengannya dengan bahasa yang sekemampuan saya karena dia nggak bisa bahasa Indonesia. Jane Lightman, ya. You from Russia. You told me that you are an actress for theater, film, and television series. Okay. And this week you stay in Jakarta. What are your impression about Jakarta?
Yes, I was born in Moscow, the capital of Russia, and lived there for many years, and now I'm living in Jakarta, and I'm truly impressed by the city's unique vibe, the harmony between the nature and the technology is remarkable, and it makes me feel both safe, thanks to the presence of modern infrastructure, and deeply connected to natural world around me. And it's a beautiful balance between the environment and the technology.
Specifically, you visit Cinematheque, look at the film archive, watching Indonesian movie. Jen, what are your impression of the Cinematheque film archive?
Yes, I visited Cinematic and it truly felt like an adventure. I started on the ground floor where I explored the collection of vintage cameras and editing equipment, and I saw a massive archive of movies from Asia, Europe, the United States, and the staff showed me how people used to watch films in old times, and it was really fascinating. On the fifth floor, I spent some time reading books about filmmaking, and I was really happy to end the visit by watching classic Indonesian movie. Thanks to you.
Yeah. Yeah. How does it compare to the film archive in Moscow or other city in Russia? Tell me.
In Moscow, we have Landfilm, a huge creative hub that brings many things together. It houses an archive of films, movie props, costumes, locations, vintage cars, sets, and more. There are also cinema, of course, bookstore, cafe. So it's more like a mall, not only for professionals but also for casual visitors. Uh, it's a unique detail that the filmmakers can rent all these resources for their own production. So that's one of the key differences. In Russia, we usually reuse all the props, a lot of costumes and locations, of course, and you might see the same buildings, the same cars and dresses appearing in multiple TV series and movies, and that's okay. In contrast, cinematic is truly like an archive of the best memories of Indonesian cinema. Mm, it's not meant to be an amusement park. It's a serious place for serious filmmakers and researchers who are genuinely interested in film history and in filmmaking. Yes.
Jane, you know, there used to be a good relationship between Indonesia film and Russian film at that time. Uh, Soviet Union before Russia. Several Indonesian filmmakers studied in the Soviet Union. Among them were Sumanjaya, Khalid Arifin. The founder of Cinematheque, his name is Bayu Sabiran, also received in Soviet Union scholarship, although the scholarship was not taken. What do you think?
Oh, yes, those were truly meaningful times for the Soviet history. Back then, specialists from across the Soviet Union and filmmakers from various Asian countries had the opportunity to work together, and they shared their experiences, their unique techniques, or maybe even personal life hacks, and it was a real time of cultural exchange and collaboration. And I think that was something that enriched both sides.
Have you watched Indonesian film? Sumanjaya Works, film by Sumanjaya, director. What do you think about Indonesian film and the difference with Russian or Soviet film?
Yes, I really enjoyed Opera Jakarta. It made me reflect on clear differences between Soviet and Indonesian cinema. In Soviet cinema, films had a straight narrative structure: an introduction, a main conflict, rising action, where the protagonist undergoes transformation, a climax, the point where a straight decision is made, and the resolution. So usually Soviet films had only one central problem, only one moral dilemma, and by the end of the film, the outcome had to be clear, the issue resolved. In contrast, Opera Jakarta and many other Indonesian movies I've seen present multiply layers of the conflict. So it feels like riding a roller coaster because of the mix of the emotions, a mix of genres in one movie. And there is also an unpredictability in storytelling, which makes the viewer constantly shift their point of view. In USSR, we had an ideology, and the ideology had the main part, the main role in every movie, in almost every movie. Okay, and the film guided the viewer to the ideas of social unity. So, well, I appreciate in Indonesian movies these little scenes, these parts of the films where I can see the richness, the fullness of everyday life, like the scene on the beach in Opera Jakarta, or the scene in the bathroom, and I think it made me feel like it's my own life. And sadly, it wasn't possible, I think, in Soviet Union because of the censorship. Yeah.
This is my question. How does the Russian government treat film? Put as an industry or as an art form, art film, film of the cultural art? Tell me.
Fortunately, many parts of the Soviet approach still exist today. In Russia, movies are not used for free expression. Instead of it, movies are made for manipulating people's opinion, for sending some concrete messages, and for guiding people how they must think. So Russian government supports films about Russian heroism, stories about the Second World War, like movie T-34, stories about history, historical drama, Viking, for example, sport movies like Going Vertical. But there is a problem. They are fake. So they are not showing the truth, and they don't feel like it's true. It's real life. It's truth. No. So it's more like about creating an image of a successful and powerful nation than for showing the truth. There is also a trend of making fairy tale movies aimed at children, trying to build a sense of Russian culture in the next generations. For example, movie Wish of the Fairy Fish. At the same time, many film producers treat movies as a business. So they don't try to say something deep or meaningful. They earn money. They make money on it. What audience really feels, what audience really thinks, it's not a priority. Profit is. Unfortunately, many parts of the Soviet approach to cinema still exist today. In Russia, movies are not used for free expression. Instead, the movies are made to send a specific message, to guide people how they must think, to manipulate people's opinion. Russian government supports movies about Russian heroism, especially stories about the Second World War, like movie T-34. They support historical dramas, for instance, Viking, sport dramas, for example, Going Vertical. But the point is, they don't feel real. These films are not real. It's like a beautiful stories, no more. And they don't try to show the truth. They try to make an image of a powerful, successful country, no more. But there is another side of Russian cinema, honest one. Low budget, independent and underground films often show us real and powerful stories. So a strong example is The Fool, Durak. It shows us how being brave and honest isn't enough to fix the corrupt system and to make people feel and to make people care. So it's one of these films that sticks with you because it's dear to tell the truth. So maybe you can tell me more about Indonesian cinema. Do you have some independent and underground films? Are they popular in Indonesia? What people prefer to watch here?
I think the situation in Indonesia is the same. Maybe even exercise producer and filmmaker both commercially oriented. Far different from 1970 until 1980, when the film Opera Jakarta was born by director Sumanjaya. At that time, there were many artistic films with them like Jumin. Many made in Indonesia. Directors like Sumanjaya, Teguh Karya, Arifin Senor, Hairul Umam, Slamet Raharjo, they made film like that. In the previous era, as you can read in cinematic, there were director Osmar Ismail, the name, Jaya Kusuma, Nya Abbas Akob, Bakhtiar Syagian, and there were also Ami Priyono, who was also a graduate of the Moscow Cinematography School. After the Indonesia film industry died between 1990 until 2000, many production emerged again. And no, Indonesia has a good number of production. 1 year can be 150 title Indonesian film, Indonesian movie. Young director have also appearing, but yes, that is more industry oriented, commercial, just for entertainment. The important thing is that there are many viewers. At the same time, the film criticism. At the same time, here film critic film no longer exists. Film media has turned into advertiser, promoting. No criticism there. Course not all. Course not 100%. Not all of them. Sometimes filmmaker appear what you call underground film. Of course, they are not popular. Some time ago, the film The Dirty Vote appeared about the scandal of fraud of the election. Watched by millions of people, but only through YouTube channel and streaming media platform, not on theater. Film with contextual, political, and social theme are sometimes also made become underground film. For example, the film KM50, KM50, a film about human rights violation, not in theater. I myself have made film for cinema with social and political criticism theme, but film like that will face obstacles, terhambat of the censorship board, censor, as well obstacles in cinemas, because the cinema network owner have a collusive relationship with the power government. He is popularly called oligarchy, you know.
Adalah melodi dari langit, senandung untuk kehidupan bumi, irama yang dikirimkan dari surga, mengalun sebagai sinarnya cahaya, lembut sendu sehalus belayan angin, lalu menggema, menggetarkan dada, pelukanmu meneduhkan relung hati, ciumanmu membuat jiwa bergelora. Wanita, wanita, engkaulah para kekasih, pembawa cinta yang menerangi dunia. Tanpa dirimu, lelaki jadi hampa dan sepi. Tanpa dirimu, kehidupan tak bermakna. Sejak Hawa bersama Adam ada di surga, turun ke bumi dengan membawa cinta. Kepadamu kehidupan telah diwariskan, untuk berpasangan dalam kasih sayang. Dua sisi berbeda bersatu dalam cinta, wanita dan lelaki, dua insan yang senandung untuk kehidupan bumi. Wanita, wanita, engkaulah para kekasih, pembawa cinta yang menerangi dunia. Tanpa dirimu, lelaki jadi hampa dan sepi. Tanpa dirimu, kehidupan tak bermakna. Sejak Hawa bersama Adam ada di surga, turun ke bumi dengan membawa cinta. Kepadamu kehidupan telah diwariskan, untuk berpasangan dalam kasih sayang. Dua sisi berbeda bersatu dalam cinta. Wanita dan lelaki, dua insan yang setara. Irama melodi yang dikirimkan dari surga, senandung untuk kehidupan bumi. Wanita, wanita, engkaulah para kekasih, pembawa cinta yang menerangi dunia. Tanpa dirimu, lelaki jadi hampa dan sepi. Tanpa dirimu, kehidupan tak bermakna. Wanita, wanita, engkaulah para kekasih. Wanita,